Here is the installation of strut tower brace for my BMW 2005 X5, the 4.8 IS. Pretty simple job, really. The first thing is this needs, the washer fluid reservoir needs taken off and moved out of the way. It sits on top of this strut tower, part of it does. And there's two nuts that need removed. One here, which attaches to right here, and another one that goes here for here. So just two nuts, which look like this. And this just lifts out of the way. And then you have to then take the three nuts that are on the actual strut mount bolts off here and also over on that side. And then the strut tower brace just is already pre-made with the openings in the correct spot. In this case, I had to slightly tap it to get it to sit down on the threaded bolts there for the strut mounts. But once I did that, and I had to do that on both sides, it went in pretty good. So now we'll go over and put these on. These three here. So one of the problems I was trying to solve in putting this on is the one part of the strut tower itself underneath this nut here actually started tearing just from normal wear and tear on the vehicle. So this helps to solve that and prevent it from happening to the others. And then it should also give a little bit of a handling benefit too from stiffening up the front of the car. So I'm tightening this one first, and I am going to go back and use a torque wrench to make sure these are torqued properly. But this particular one is where the tear is in the metal. It's just a very slight tear. So I'm putting this one on first, and then that's getting the strut brace to lower enough so that these threads pop up through on these two. So on this side, just the way this is sitting on here, I'm doing the back one first. As you can see, it's popped up a little bit here. So we'll need to then just put a little bit of pressure to push that one down to get the threads to come up through so we can tighten it down. But the correct order on this one to get this to sit right is the rear first. And on this one I had to put a little bit of pressure on it just to get enough of the threads poking through, but then it goes on very easily. So that one's bolted down. Now again, I'm going to still come back with the torque wrench and get that one properly torqued. And on this side, they're already hand threaded. Now this side, it sat down, the strut bar sat on the top of the strut tower a little bit more evenly, so the threads are all coming through pretty good on this side. So it wasn't necessary to to put any pressure on one side of it to get it to get enough of the threads to poke through. So again, we're just using this socket to tighten them down, and I'm going to come back and torque them. I need this to be able to work in that spot because it's a little bit curved and a little tight. And this, in terms of the size, this is a 1/2 inch for the strut mount bolts and nuts. It's a 1/2 inch socket that's needed for that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back through with the torque wrench and, oops, the socket's still on here. Come back with the torque wrench and get those torqued down, and then the next step will be to put the windshield washer reservoir back in place. It looks like these take, the torque settings is 33 foot-pounds. I'm going to go a hair lower than that, around 30. And so, you know, I got more of an old-fashioned, it's not a digital torque wrench here, so let me set this. It's now set. The way this works, you put it unlock, and then you rotate this up and get this to focus right here to where the zero is at the 30 foot-pound mark, which is where I have it, and then you slide that down into the lock. Got those all torqued down, and then we're going to do this side. So again, 30 foot-pound, and then what happens is when this has got enough torque on it, this style wrench, which most of them work this way, you just hear a clicking noise to tell you that it's properly torqued. Just like that. So you know that that's properly torqued. So, yeah, this is, the strut brace is definitely, you know, snug fit. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I had to tap it into place up against this plastic here because it was just a little snug. So what I'm running into now and reattaching the washer fluid reservoir is the plastic around the opening for the bolt is now too close to the edge of the strut brace. This side is fine. And then the other thing too is, I don't know if you can see it, this actually has two separate pumps. Let me move this out of the way here. This has two separate pumps to pump the fluid out, and you got to kind of tuck those underneath the strut bar as you slide it back in place there too, so you want to be careful of that. But basically what I'm going to do to modify this to fit is I'm going to clip off just the one side, the corner of the plastic around the bolt opening, so that it'll fit in there, and that really won't affect how secure it is whatsoever, because it's going to be attached over here also, and then the nuts will tighten on there good enough to hold it in place. So what I'm doing is just trimming off that extra plastic that's in the way. I just happen to have these handy. These are technically PEX plumbing cutters that are like a ratchet style cutter, but you could really use anything to cut the plastic with. Utility knife, I'm sure, would even work. Tin snips, you know, anything like that. So just snip that off, and then that should fit on there. So you can see this is back in place now. I did trim that off. Now again, there's a mounting point here with the nut. There's actually a little bracket that there's part of it that slips into here underneath. You can't see it from here and here. So even without the nuts on here, this is solid in place. So having to trim this off in the back really will have no effect on it. And then there's still enough room. See if you can see it better here for the pumps for the washer fluid to still fit back there. So these are both hand tightened in place now, and then we're just going to tighten them up with the socket. So here is the finished result of my strut tower brace project. You can see how you know, the plastic was clipped there, and you can see how that nut still firmly holds this in place. It's still just a solid, that slight modification we had to make there. But you can see the end result, and I did decide to take some, I took this off, this sticker off here, which was actually the company that makes the strut tower brace, their sticker, and then I added the M-stripe tape on it, and then this was just a decal that I got off of, I think it was somebody had it for sale on eBay or something. So anyway, that's the finished result, and I can tell you it is noticeable driving it. It does feel firmer in the front, and then again, the main purpose for it was to solve, we had some, you can't see it here because this is covering it up, but underneath the strut tower itself, the metal near where that pokes through, where the threaded part of the strut mount pokes through, was starting to have some slight tearing underneath here on this metal, which can happen over time. You know, this is an 05, so and so to prevent that, to fix the problem from getting worse, and then to prevent it on the other ones as well, you know, this is one of the ways to solve that in cars, if it isn't bad enough. Sometimes and this was just a slight tear near where the threads were coming through. But if it's bad enough, you actually end up needing to get it professionally welded and repaired first before you put the strut brace on. Okay, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you liked this video and found it helpful. And definitely plan on posting more projects. Thank you.